Hello and welcome back to the Blush Studio. Today I am super excited to be playing with Artisaire's new Vellum sealing wax. I'm using a spoon this time. I don't have a fancy melting spoon, so I just use a metal teaspoon. And I'm going to melt that and add it to the envelope. Now see all of those bubbles? That is a sure sign that my wax is way too hot. But rather than quitting, I decided to press on just to see how forgiving this wax would be. In general, metallic or solid color wax from Artisaire I find to be really forgiving, so if it's too hot, it still tends to look good, but I was curious to see how the semi-transparent qualities would come into play. Now that we have the stamp off, we can see that beautiful transparency. I love that you can see through to the envelope underneath. Unfortunately, you can also see some bubbles that were trapped within the wax itself, as well as obviously the ones on the lip. So that I wasn't okay with. That's not really what I want to give to my brides or my clients, and so I wanted to test it out a little bit further. So we tried it with cooler wax, which if you've seen my other wax seal videos, you know that I recommend. If you're working with a hot glue gun to place your wax, then you know that it needs to be on the low setting. With vellum, I would actually go a step further and say that you should turn your glue gun off occasionally, just so that it doesn't get too hot. So you can see that was so much better. We don't have the same bubbles. I could have used a little bit more wax, but that is looking good. Now, just to make sure that that wasn't a fluke, I decided to try it one more time and see how nice and slow that wax is coming off. That is what you're going for. If you want a sealing spoon that will really help you to get a beautiful even heat every single time, Artisaire has some awesome spoons. I just haven't splurged on it yet because in general I prefer the hot glue gun technique. One thing that I do wish I had done when creating this seal was to push the stamp in a little bit more and make the wax underneath a little bit thinner. This would play up the transparency even more and add so much more depth. And it would really help the bride and the greenery to pop for this seal. If you look back at the original seal, that while it was too hot, there was more of that dimension and the layering effect. And you can get that by actually massaging your stamp in just a little bit farther into the wax. Now for one more experiment before I let you go, I decided to try the vellum layered over some thread. So I threw some wax paper in between the invitation itself and the thread just to prevent the seal from sticking to the invitation itself. And then I poured the wax on following our technique where it was a little bit cooler, but I pushed it in some more. And I thought the effect was really fun. You can definitely see the ribbon through the vellum, but it is harder to see the actual stamp. Now, if you were to pursue this method, if this was a look that you really liked, I actually recommend going with a more modern seal, maybe even a blank seal. Whereas this more intricate design, I really think shines more on the envelope. So it's able to show off that transparency and the beautiful qualities that this wax brings out without distracting from the rest of the suite. If you're a bride and you're interested in using these vellum wax seals for your invitation suite, I actually recommend going with Artisaire's self-adhesive option. The adhesive is completely invisible underneath and will save you any frustration or just some of the hassle that comes with something that is a little more delicate and just needs a little bit more attention. But overall, I think that this vellum wax is a innovative and beautiful option for your wedding stationery. It fits with the trends. It's a great way to show some class without overpowering a suite, and I hope that you will look into it. Until then, happy stamping!